Hey guys, so right now we're in Clash of Zones day 3, I believe. Um, this is a research tech day. I have had just a little bit of stuff ping through, but I'll show you what this day looks like here. If you take a look, I've decided to time this video with this particular challenge ending, which is going to get me, 10 research speed ups and some tech power here. Targeting about 4.448 million. Power gives me some decent money, some iron, that sort of stuff. There's 8 minutes left in this event. I have 0 points so far. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take on Clash of Zones score here to increase the amount that I'm going to get through here. And I'm actually going to be using diamonds for these upgrades. Since I don't think I have very many speed ups. Oh, I have 244. So I go through and use some of these speed ups that are just random ones that aren't going to affect anything first, just so I'm not wasting too many research speed ups that could be used for another event later on. And I just quickly finish off the one that I'm on. That one thing got me 662,000 points and put me up 3 million or so points through here. Now, just really quickly, what's super important is why I'm getting so many points through here is because I have already done my zone commemoration. My zone commemoration, I have 100% extra points here. Scroll down a little bit. I have 200% extra points here, and I have 100% extra points here. On top of that, I get double rewards for everything. I have 9 boxes that I can access, and I've unlocked everything in this tree. This is the most important for ever getting any good boxes from Clash of Zones, and it's well worth your while. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working on some, I have 6 minutes here, I'm going to be working on some tech that gets me some pretty high power, that's not going to hopefully cost too much. So if I take a look at that, the power aspect you're going to see up here, total combat power, this doesn't actually go up by much, right? It only gets me like 37,000 power if I max that out, but it also doesn't cost too much. So what I'm going to do is I really want more hospitals. I was struggling with hospitals last time. So I'm just going to pop through a couple of these here. Just always making sure that I'm not buying resources. And let's take a look at where I'm at. And I'm at 4.29 million, okay? So that only cost me 6,000 diamonds or something in there. But more importantly, I'm at 29 million here on the Clash of Zones. It's not putting me up too high in the standings right now. Rudy's at 119. I would like to get up there pretty quick. But I'm only going for this one event right now because there's another event. This is the 3 to 4 p.m. or 3 to 4 a.m. Event going on right now. In this 3 to 4 a.m. event, it is the building power and stuff that's actually working. Let me see really quick. So the first level of this is going to get me a lot of power. The first level of this is going to get me a lot of power. So at this point, I've already maxed out what I'm getting on this, right? There's no real reason for me to continue doing any technology at this point because I've already maxed all my boxes. If I go any further past here, I'm kind of just wasting stuff. I will be getting some points through here, but I won't be getting quite the amount of points that I would otherwise if I had an hourly event going too, which is why I target this at the very end. Now, I have about 10 minutes I have to fill here. And what I'm going to do is, because I have some speed ups, I'm going to find a nice big tech that will get me a lot of points. So this one's going to put me up 2,000 power or something like that. That might be nice. This one too, it's going to put me up 2,000 power. And this one takes fuel. This one takes iron. I don't want the ones that take iron because, well, right now I'm trying to save iron. So I'm going to start that research. That just means I'm going to get a little bit of help along the way. Nothing too major, but basically with all of that tech that I just did, I bumped myself up just a little bit. I'm at 1.176 right now for my tech. Now, in terms of what that looks like, or in terms of like why my score is going up so quick, I've already mentioned it. The zone calm, it just can't be overstated enough. This tech tree is the most important tech tree. There's nothing more important than this, simply because if you look at the total scores here, like this isn't like a bragging thing, but I just did like 6 or 7 techs and I'm at 32 million. Whereas like some of these guys, I know Dan was working really, really hard. His zone com tech right now is 16%. I've been working with him on that. And he's posting 20 million, but he's put in a lot more resources than I did. Effectively, I'm working say 500% less than he is to get the same score. And that's kind of cool because I just spent very little to maximize those rewards. Now, something that I like to focus on, just making sure I understand where the high power techs are and where the low power techs are. So if you were to take a look at my shooter training tree right here, and I were to upgrade some of this is high power tech right here, but at the same time with a pretty big price tag. I mean, 4 million iron, that's pretty expensive. So I'm looking at this, and this is putting me up 4,689 power if I go up 1 level in this, which is kind of huge. But at the same time, it is a 2-day tech, and it is going to cost me a lot of money. A lot of iron, which for me is money. So what I don't want to do with this is I don't want to hit the diamonds on this. I'd actually want to use this type of tech, which is high power and longer duration, on a day that I'm going to be utilizing technology power plus speed ups. Because then I would use, whatever it is, 41 hours or whatever worth of speed ups, which that would be a different event, but 41 hours worth of speed ups plus 4,000 extra power, that's going to get me, say, like 6 million points towards my 13 million points on the technology speed day. And that's how I prioritize what I'm actually building at that time. Now, in the same way that I did in the building video, on the building Clash of Zones video, if you take a look at the power of the building or whatever versus the cost of the building, that's effectively what I'm doing with this. So if I look at the parts production, I could do all the parts production tech I want, but if you look at it, it's only going to go up by 700 power. Well, 700 power and it's costing 1 million resources, that's not worth it for a power event, unless I just have a lot of stuff to burn. It's definitely not worth it in diamonds. It's worth it more just to hit the 2.5 hours speed ups. But again, for 1 million resources, this is not a good event tech. This is one that's good for, like, if I'm going to bed at night and I need something to last me for 3 hours, I just click on that. But not one that I actually want to target specific events like my Clash of Zones daily event or anything like that. It's the same thing with just a little bit of, like, I don't really use fighters. If you take a look at this tech, Fortified Shields level 11 only puts me up 900 power. But again, it's taking 2 million iron. This is a tech that, like, unless I desperately need it, I won't be actually using it. So if I have the iron just sitting on hand, I will use this before I go to bed, so that when I wake up in the morning, I have this tech done. but I'm not actually purposefully doing this for an event, because if I do this purposefully in an event, I get 900 power gained, which will get me 900 by 400 points. For the hourly event, it'll get me like 350,000 points or something like that towards the event that is needing 4 million. Now, if I were to continuously add that up, and I would do this all the way up to level 15, I would have spent, say, 15 million resources for less than 2 million points. Whereas I just showed you, by hitting some of this very specific tech up here, I was able to really capitalize on using very few resources for a lot of power gain for the events. And I do this for the tech events throughout this Clash of Zones, so that I can show that really I can use very little resources on a lot of tech and get some big rewards through all of these boxes. So in a couple minutes here, I'm going to show you what the rest of this will look like. It's going to be the exact same hourly event that we just had finished 2 minutes ago, but at the same time, it's going to be, well, I'm going to use basically the same method on this tech, and it's going to get me another 60 million points, because I do still have my buff going for another 19 minutes. That makes it kind of useful, because I can hit 2 daily hourly events back to back. And the way that I do that is I have a spreadsheet. You can always find this spreadsheet almost everywhere. I don't think I can pull it up right now because it's in my photos somewhere. But it helps me kind of plan out when I'm doing this sort of event haul, if that makes sense. Now, in terms of the resources I have currently, I don't have too much money. I spent a lot of that on the building events, building a couple of these guys up a little bit. Iron started running a little low. If I would have hit some pretty heavy techs, I would actually run this down really low. That wouldn't be too cool. Wood, I have a lot of. Fuel, I don't have too much of, because I have to use that every time I build any of my troops for my max and stuff. So it's kind of frustrating, but also means like when I'm going into a tech day, I really have to think in advance. I have to think, if I use this many resources on my buildings, I don't have it for my tech. And as you can tell by my tech score, I kind of prioritize tech, which has helped me have some pretty monster hits for this point in the game anyway. You can kind of scroll through here and you see there's my farm hits, but there are some of these hits that doing pretty decently. Of course, a lot of losses, but 700,000 power to 200,000, 500,000 to 26,000, 500 to 95,000, 700 to 170,000, 979 to 164,000. And if you take a look at the difference here in terms of unit attributes, the difference is pretty astounding, right? I have 247%, he has 177%. This is actually my attack APC, which isn't as strong as my defensive APC. So if you then go through and look at, I won't show you my, let's say a lost defensive one. These are my skills right here. But if you look, Wolfman at the time was actually the president, so he had an extra 50% attack and everything like that. He also has some pretty good parts in there too. But in comparison to everything else, he had a really speedy attack. He has a lot of part tech and stuff for his health. But effectively, if he did not have his 50% attributes from being a president, there might have been a pretty different result. But that's looking at like how the tech and focusing on the tech is actually going to radically help some of these hits. I mean, like this hit, that's a pretty monster hit. And if you take a look at the attributes, relatively comparable. mine was significantly higher in terms of my tactical might through here, as well as my tactical resistance, and some of the health stats as well. But that changed from a a pretty huge hit into, as he goes through his lines here, he starts showing where his tech is actually at instead of just his APC attributes. And it's dropping down towards the 100%. I think that's a pretty big indicator that he has good heroes but not good tech. So the tech definitely helps beat through some of that hero buff that you would typically see. And yeah. So anyway, now we're on to the next event. The next event is going to be the exact same, getting the exact same stuff. And again, building our tech power, 400 points per bit of tech power. So I'm going to start this off. I'm going to actually, I'm still not going to use any speed ups on this. I'm going to be using diamonds. I always go through that. I mean, I just got 50,000 money off the stereo, so always use that. Now I have this guy to speed up. I'm going to see how many points you get off this. And I'll be looking at, is that 4.8? So 814k off that first one, right? Another pretty big tech, but on this guy it boosted me up like 4 million, okay? So now I'm going back to my tech here. Now we're up to about 2.5 million iron. Now I have to assess if that's worth it. 2,700 power that I'm looking at. This guy's 700 power. I might be interested in increased might for our launch center, but we're probably not going to be doing too much at our launch center this weekend because we're playing against some pretty hefty guys. So what I'll do is, that tech's not really worth it for me. So I'm going to go back to my APC tech and start to get a little bit of this going again. This time I will be using diamonds, so I'll use the diamonds on that. See where that takes me up to. That gave me an extra 1 million points or so there. An extra 6 million or so there. I can now take a look further down in any of these trees. See, this will get me 4,600 and 4 million. This will get me 1,200, so I'm going to be using that. I need both of these at level 10 to start working on this next one. This next one I would actually really like to get to because it is short duration and it gives me an extra 1,400 capacity there. So I'm going to use a little bit of my iron here to get this level up a little bit. I'm only at 7 so far, but that's okay. I'm not looking at using any more iron than that. That's taken me up to 3.6. So again, if you look at my diamond count, I've put 7,000 diamonds into this, but at the same time, I'm also up to 54,000, which if my boxes are correct, that should be my 8th box, I believe, that I've just completed. So if I complete double this amount of tech, or if I hit the same type of event twice, I will have hit all of my boxes at 108,000 for these events. So now I'm going to go back and take a look at my vehicle work. My vehicle work is kind of lacking. My training cost is pretty high still. So I want to actually quickly increase that a little bit. Now I'm up to, say, 12,000 power, still underneath 1 million except for fuel here, and that will put me over the edge, significantly, over the edge for that event. The reason why I decided to focus on this last little bit of attributes going into my vehicle training costs is I showed you my APCs earlier. My vehicles are kind of lacking right now. I have 10,000 that have to go into this one, 1,000 that have to go into this one, and 95,000 that have to be built for my first line of defense here, or of attack there. And then I actually still have to build all of my troops for backup troops for the weekend. So I do want to actually keep that, well, getting that extra 7% off is going to be fairly nice for the weekend. Now I'm about to go to bed, so I'm going to turn on a 13-hour tech here. And probably just let that run overnight. But all of that took me 20 minutes or so to do all of that, and in that time period I went and got 68 million points. So that puts me up into third place in this one. Some of these guys are kind of killing it. That puts us up by 0.1 Gs right now, and then I'm going to show you the rewards that come back from this. So I get 2 boxes, or I get two times the rewards for each of these because of my zone commemoration, which again, this is the only reason why it makes it worth it. I'll actually start off showing you. So I'm at 111,000 diamonds. Let's just see, I think I end up with 118,000 or something, which basically puts me back, oh no, a little more than that. Put me basically back to where I started on the diamonds. So that's the 6th box, 7th, and I said I was very close to the 8th. I just got the 8th. So there we go, that's 8 boxes. The max is 144 million, which is basically double of what this box just is. And if we take a look at my diamond count, I'm up at 122,000, so effectively just a little higher than when I first started. And now I still have about half of my tech to go, which there's another event tomorrow. But for this particular event, if you look at the world clock up at the very top here, it's 4 a.m. right now on the world clock. That event, the ones I target for this particular video, that runs from 3 to 5. You want to target it at 350 for your first builds to get your first gold box, and then start it at 405 to get your second set of gold boxes. Really does not take more than 20 minutes to do all of that. You end up with all of the rewards from 2 times of this, and all of those rewards if you have your zone comm finished. So it's a pretty lucrative kind of way to go about your tech. And if you knew what my tech was before, it started out at 1161 and it went up by 30,000 points, which is pretty decent. And yeah, my tech just keeps on going. So that's how I run through a tech event, so that I can maximize my rewards. I use diamonds for it unless I'm going on to the speed plus tech event, and then I'm actually doing completely different technologies. So try focus on power when the challenge calls for power. Try focus on speeds when it asks for speeds. But don't use your speeds for power events, because it's just wasting your speeds for the speed events. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Yeah, any questions, usually, or just post in the comments below as usual. And one of these days I'm going to get up into the top ranks of these events, but that just requires overspending. I'm not a huge overspender. Yeah, any questions, post in the comments, and I'll probably have a donation link up soon, just so you guys can help keep me going with all of this stuff, and making some sweet videos to show you guys how my base is developing, and then also how we are building State 329. Sweet. Awesome. Thanks, guys.